Hi guys, it's Alex McCann here from Manchester-based social media company Alty HQ, and we're here for the social conversation, our first episode here live in Altrincham. And what we're talking about today is it's a social conversation. It's what I talk about when I talk on social media. All three of our guests today, which is Jonny Hewitt from Little Red Pizza Co. Hello, Jonny.
Good evening.
We've got Andrew McHale from McHale & Co. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Alex.
And we've got Hayley from Off the Wheaten Track. Hello,
Hi,
Hayley.
Alex.
Hiya, thanks for joining us. We're going to get to know you a little bit more in a second. But a little intro to myself. So those that don't know me, I'm going to keep it really, really brief because you probably know me if you're following us on our page. I'm basically run a social media company called Alty HQ. We help your business grow by social media, be that social media training or social media management. That is me. We've got about 38,000 followers on social, and this is our first TV show. So I'm going to go over to Jonny first of all. Do you just want to give us a quick 20-second intro about who you are, how people might know you?
Hi, my name is Jonny Hewitt. I run a small business called Little Red Pizza Co. It was originally a mobile event-based wood-fired pizza business, and obviously with the pandemic that has happened, that has put all events on complete hold. So for the last, April, May time last year, we started doing deliveries, and as things started to get more relaxed, we were able to do some events. So the Christmas lights at Dunham. Obviously, lockdown 3.0 has happened, and I'm stuck in homeschooling hell, which is driving me a little bit to despair. But hopefully the world will start to reopen again soon. We all say with bated breath, and please, all the parents of children of primary school age going, please let the kids go back to school.
Fingers crossed. So we'll go next to Hayley. So introduce yourself to the world, Hayley.
Hi, I'm Hayley Hadfield. I'm actually the owner of a very niche deli in Yorkshire, which is completely gluten-free. So it's safe from cross-contamination. We do a lot of obviously we do everything gluten-free, but we do a lot of dairy-free products, vegan products. We make everything, pies, cakes, quiches, potato cakes, all on site. We originally started as a cafe, but 10 months into being open, we got locked down, and obviously with the pandemic, we've had to diversify, and now we're a completely a deli and retail shop as well. And we've recently launched our online shop, which has meant we can go national. So we've kind of really gone full circle with getting our name and products out there. We'll be 2 years old in April. We're still there. I'm fortunate that my children are grown up, so I haven't had to endeavour the homeschooling. So I do feel your pain, Jonny, but not personally.
Fantastic. And Andrew, I think you're homeschooling as well, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, kind of. I'm between you both. We had last year had two of the kids were the last year of primary school, but then all in secondary school. Eldest is in university now, so kind of it's not too difficult. They're mainly looking after themselves, and other than having to buy a couple of extra laptops recently, fingers crossed I'm not getting too involved in the homeschooling. So owner of McHale & Co. Solicitors, based here in the middle of Altrincham. Hayley just mentioned that open 2 years. We're going to be 20 in only a few weeks' time. I think I've kind of decided to put the celebrations off to next year. We're going to have a big 21st and not bother with the 20th because there's not an awful lot we can do. So full service law firm based here in the middle of Altrincham, employ about 50 people here, cover most areas of law. Also very involved with lots of other things in the local community. So volunteer coach, and committee member at Bebo Rugby Club. I'm a director of Altrincham District Athletics Club, also a trustee for Timperley Boxing Club. So very involved in local sport and lots of things in the local community. So I guess Altrincham, brought up in Timperley, not gone too far. I've made it to Altrincham and I live here as well. So that's me.
Fantastic. So you've met our guest now. We're going to go dive straight into the conversation. We've got so many varied topics to talk about. It's going to be a bit of Altrincham, a bit of Manchester, a bit of trending topics, what people are talking about. And we're going to start with our breaking news section because we've sort of talked about what we're going to talk about today. And this is what has happened today, just breaking news just before we started recording this. So obviously the hot talking point at the moment is obviously Captain Tom at the moment. Sad, very sad news an hour ago. So I was just reading up, obviously Captain Tom's been omnipresent during the whole pandemic. And I was just reading up the numbers actually. He's only, when he started doing his 100 laps around his garden, he was actually only aiming to raise £1,000 for the NHS. And obviously by the time he'd done it, he'd raised 12 million. And obviously the donations that came in after that meant he'd reached over 30 million people. So I thought we'll start with Captain Tom. Wow, wow, wow. What an impact in the last 12 months. So what have you been thinking about sort of as the last hour's gone by?
Who's going first? I think if I put my pence worth, I think it's kind of humbling because anyone can make a difference is what with the pandemic has shown. And the fact a 100-year-old, at the time he was 99-year-old, and was going to do something what he saw was a challenge, and the whole of Britain got behind him and donated. And I think it's just when it just touched people in so many ways. And I think if a 99-year-old man can raise 30-something million for the NHS, then it kind of makes you feel, well, actually, we can actually do something. There's something we can do to raise money for, it be a local community-based activity or something national. So I think I think what he's done should be applauded. And I think remember what he's achieved. He fought in the Second World War. All of these things, and it should be a life well celebrated. And we shouldn't really be too sad that he sadly died of COVID. So I think looking at all the positives as opposed to the negatives.
I think you're right there, John. I think probably the biggest thing is the example he set, isn't it? That point that anyone can make a difference. And I think probably at the time everyone was crying out for some, a leader of a type, and he sort of showed us that anybody could make a difference. He was very, very sort of, got out there, did it. And I think that he inspired, it's probably the example and the inspiration to loads and loads of other people. So the 33 million's a huge amount of money, it's amazing, but actually he probably set off a ripple effect of loads and loads of people going out and doing something in their local communities, which has gone way, way beyond any sort of monetary value. So very sad day.
Yeah. I know my wife is a physiotherapist in the NHS, and she was able to actually apply to Captain Tom's fund specifically for some equipment, not having to go through a myriad of quangos or offices, but could just go, I want a certain amount of money. It may have only been 50, 60 pounds, but he was able to go direct to and actually take benefit from the funding of what he raised.
Yeah, I think it's been a really sad day to see, somebody who's iconic and inspirational to us, and also I think, like you both said, that it just shows that it doesn't matter what age you are, that you can still set out to do and achieve something. And I think at his lifetime he achieved a lot, and just in his later years he certainly made a difference and inspired a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll be talking about Captain Tom not just for days to come, but for years to come. Definitely, he's made such a big impact. So obviously that was what was breaking today. We're going to go on to what else people have seen on social media. That's what we're talking about today. So Jonny, what topic has stood out for you on social media this week?
It's one that really, it's racism and social media. I'm very fortunate. I'm a white man. I'm in my mid-40s. I live in Altrincham. I live in a nice house. I've got a beautiful wife, lovely kids, middle-class lifestyle, and it's it kind of bothers me that, and I just like where I have my head in my hands, that in this day and age where we've made so many leaps and bounds in terms of addressing racism, and everyone's become a more tolerant society, but in places like Twitter, well, across all social medias, that people are still horrifically racist towards black footballers, black sports people, celebrities, people in the public eye, and it's made me just it's saddened me that it's still going on, and the fact people, you wouldn't go to somebody in the street and be so abusive to them face to face, but they feel it is okay to tap away on a smartphone and send somebody vile language. I just don't get it, and I think and there's just no place for it. And I'm kind of just at a loss with it. I don't know.
I've got maybe a slightly different view, that it might not be a bad thing that we get a kick up the pants, because I think, so you said something there, Jonny, which, same experience. Believe it or not, I'm a little bit older than you. I know you won't, but same thing, middle class, white background, live around here. I don't know, maybe we're all patting ourselves on the back a little bit too much. The idea that this was a problem that had been solved, it was probably always there under the surface. We've got Brexit, Trumpism, all of those things that have allowed people to, but it probably shows us it hadn't gone away. It probably really hadn't. I watched, was on Sky the other night, Micah Richards did a documentary. I think Gary Neville was absolutely brilliant on it by just saying, look, there's things that people said to me in the past that I didn't, probably take as seriously as I should. And, I think I think it can be turned into a positive, that if people are having these sort of debates now, we're actually saying, what, we may have put a veneer of respectability over it. We may have stopped people saying it in the street, but you know what? Maybe people were still going around thinking. So, maybe we need to see the boil before we can lance it properly.
Yeah. I've just been saddened by it. Look at, these heroes that we have. Marcus Rashford, who's done so much for Fair Share, feeding underprivileged children, getting that message out. And because he doesn't score a frigging goal on the weekend, he gets absolutely vilified. And I've just gone, come on, we are better than this. I'm still struggle with it. I don't know. I mean, Alex, you're very proud of your black background. And it's part of you. How do you see it? How do you, what's your take on this whole topic?
Yeah, it is really hard to see, because I think there has been, until social media puts it on the spotlight and you realise just how overt it is, in terms of people feeling it's acceptable to say it. As you said, to Marcus Rashford, who has done so much, but obviously anyone in the public eye, Diane Abbott, anyone who's on TV screens. It's horrible to see. I think Andrew's right in the fact that maybe it has always been there, and this is just it's brought it to the fore. I think social media platforms maybe need to do something. I think whether it's some form of verification, that you can't just be that it's somehow linked to an email address, a job title, or something that means that you can't say what the hell you want on social media without repercussions. Because you've got to remember, all these people giving abuse to black football players or so on have got a job. They've potentially got a family. They've got a kid that they're influencing. Absolutely. It needs to be, there needs to be something done. It can't just be I don't want to say a playground, but something like that. It doesn't want to be a free-for-all.
I think sadly social media has probably made it easier for people to be more racist as well, because it gives them the platform to be feel like they're safely behind a keyboard to say what they like without any repercussions. I think going back to what Andrew said, and Jonny, that you know, people don't necessarily, these people wouldn't necessarily get, you know, go up to this person on the street and say it to the face, but they feel safe to do it, you know, in the safety of their own home on the phone. And I think you're right that the you know, the social media platforms need to do more to prevent these people from being able to actually put it out there in the first place. You know, a lot of it goes on in sport, but it goes on in many more places as well. My son's married to a Guatemalan girl, and so, you know, we've got multiracial people in our family, and it's just absolutely outrageous to see, you know, what's going on. It's just, and it's always been there, and I think sadly it won't ever go away. I think we'll never get rid of it completely, but I think that more people need to be educated. And I think that, you know, so like I say, social media platforms can go a long way to, you know, try and filter out the people that are doing this.
I think we've got so much we could talk about on this subject, and I'm aware that we've got
I think to spend the whole.
We're here all night.
We could spend a whole night on this, but we're gonna move on. What else did you see, Jonny? What else has been people been talking about on social for you?
Well, I think on a very local basis is how many burger joints can Altrincham sustain? You know, it's just you know, I think it's just the, you know, there's a 4, 5, you know, as you know.
I was thinking of setting one up.
Yeah.
Only joking. I don't think Jonny from Oxford.
I was like going. I mean, how many? It's like the joke is how many coffee shops are there?
Pizza is so 2020. Get over it.
Yeah, I need to re-pivot my business already. You know, it's 21 is just like, yeah, get out the pizza game. It's just
pizza burger.
Go on. Who? I know. Obviously, I know what the Con Club are doing with the vegan one, and I know that Jonny down at Oxford Road Cafes, doing that. And I know there's mustards arriving. I've walked past there and I've seen the sign. So who else have we got?
Urban Burger. So
are they coming back?
Yeah, well,
they've come back. They're on Altrincham Eats, which is the app. So that's run by the guys. That's run by the guys from House. And we've got another burger one coming, which I believe is imminent, which is going to be on Shores Road. So just where Mustard is, just up the road from that. It used to be where the Cellar Bar was in Altrincham. We've got 5 burger joints. I guess burgers now in 2021 are going to be the pizzas of Hale, I guess, because Hale's always been mocked for having so many Italians.
Well, I think it's just at the moment where people just want to, you know, we go to the lower markets where One Central is, and the retail food and some food to go on a Saturday afternoon, because everyone's desperate to get out and but just bump into people that they know, and we're all having conversations that normally would go, all right, and now we're just going, hi, how are you? We're not, you know, we're having full-on conversations with people. So I think, you know, food to go and just be able to, well, I think we need to include Barry, who's got his street food, South African Barry, you know, it's well known. So there'll be burgers and gyros and other things amongst there. So
I guess Hayley, that makes you, I mean, in terms of talking food, obviously you're in terms of the Northwest, are you the only Northwest gluten-free deli?
Yes.
Or yes, I thought you were. So I don't think we're going to see any gluten-free delis popping up immediately. We're not going to have 5 gluten-free delis in Alty.
No, I don't think so. I mean, and obviously more people, you know, more of the food outlets are starting to do more and more gluten-free stuff, which is great. Obviously, there's always a cross-contamination risk there, and I think as long as the education is there, you know, for me, the more gluten-free outlets that come, it's better because it brings more people into the community and into the area, and it raises the awareness as well, because a lot of people think that, you know, being gluten-free is a fad diet or a health lifestyle. It's actually not. Celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, and once you've got it, you can't get rid of it. It's a life-changing disease, and you have to be on a strict gluten-free diet in order to basically not be very, very poorly. And some people are actually anaphylactic as well. So if they get even a crumb in their food, then they can be seriously ill. So it's, you know, I'm constantly trying to get the message across that, you know, not only you know, it's not just a fad diet, but it's, you know, gluten-free food actually isn't naff. It used to be a long time ago. You know, if you go back a few years, gluten-free stuff really wasn't very nice. My husband can vouch for that. Trying to eat bread was like eating cardboard or sawdust. It's come a long way since then. I think, you know, Jonny, you do the gluten-free pizza bases. You know, they've come such a long way since, you know, for 15, 20 years ago. And a lot of my customers now, I'd probably say about 40% of my customers actually aren't celiacs and aren't gluten-free. They just come because they like the food, which, you know, for me is great. So
how far pre-lockdown, Hayley, how far were people traveling to come to yours?
Well, I'd actually started a little map, because when we were a cafe, we had our furthest customer came from New Zealand.
Nice.
We had,
but not especially, I presume.
Yeah, we had a family in from New York. We had people from all over the country. I had a message from a lady on Facebook who she messaged me. She said, I'm in a pub in London and there's a couple talking about the fact that they've been to your cafe. Wow. And I was like, whoa, that's brilliant, you know. So, you know, but yeah, they were traveling from all over the place. And even just recently when we reopened as a, you know, a retail outlet, I had a lady travel from Nottingham because she wanted to buy my cakes, and I think she spent about £25-30 just on cakes. Which was, you know, it's fantastic. So people definitely travel to us. We're definitely a destination because there isn't anybody like us in the area. I think the nearest other place is in Leeds. Ironically, they all seem to be based around an Oxford Road or Oxford Place area, you know, place in York that's a completely gluten-free place, Wildcraft Bakery in Leeds. So we're definitely, you know, building in terms of places being available. But yeah, I think I'm the only one in the Greater Manchester area.
Fantastic. So we're going to move, obviously, we've covered a variety of subjects. We've covered Captain Tom, racism, and burgers and gluten-free so far. We're going to move on to a bit of social media, a bit of tech, a bit of online. So things that stood out for me, I'm going to just go through a few things. So obviously the thing that people have been talking about for the past 2 or 3 weeks has been the whole debate on WhatsApp privacy and all the changes on that. So I'm not sure whether you've seen it, but obviously WhatsApp, owned by Facebook, owned by obviously they own Instagram as well, but there's been a privacy notice going on about how they're going to be sharing data from WhatsApp with Facebook, which is obviously then going to start serving as adverts. Now, I don't know about you. Obviously, I don't know the legals. Andrew might know this in a minute, but literally...
I'll tell you that now.
Tell us that now.
No, as I say, I really, when it comes to data protection, I have no idea.
No, but I mean, in terms of that, I mean, for me, personally, as long as they're not reading the specific messages that you're sending your friends or your business contacts and so on, I actually like the fact that Facebook's serving you the adverts that you want to see. I don't want it to be like the local newspaper where you're turning over the local newspaper to go, not interested in the funeral parlour, not interested in this business, not interested in that. I like the fact that when you go onto Facebook, because they know your data, you get served adverts. For me, it might be a vegan thing, it might be a gig thing, it might be going to running. So what's your thoughts on like the whole big data, Facebook knowing everything about us, WhatsApp and so on?
So Alex, sorry, Andrew, go on.
I was going to say, I'm probably like you, Alex. I'm quite relaxed about the whole thing, really. And, you know, the stuff that I see on Facebook does tend to be reasonably well targeted to me. And as you say, scrolling through stuff that I'm not interested in, you know, it's a benefit, really. So no, I'm quite relaxed about the whole thing.
Hayley?
So what are WhatsApp actually going to do? Because obviously at the moment, WhatsApp you use just for, it's almost like a messaging service. So are they going to start chucking adverts into your, every time you open WhatsApp?
You've kept it fairly vague. I mean, they've always been sort of going to be serving as adverts at one stage. It's going to happen. What they're actually going to be doing is sharing some form of data from WhatsApp to Facebook. That's a big thing. And they've delayed that for about, I think they've now delayed the decision or the move to May, and they're doing various PR campaigns. So basically what it means is, like, normally when you go onto Facebook or you go onto various websites, if you're searching for something on Amazon or a website, you'll go onto Facebook and then see the advert for it. I had it the other day. I went onto a running site to book a virtual race, go onto Facebook, literally 2 minutes later, it was serving me adverts for that website. Yeah. So it's going to be along those lines of things. Right. I don't think there's going to be a human at the end listening to your private messages, Hayley, or my private messages. But yeah, that was a big talking point. So did any of you, obviously some of you are aware, did any of you download those new apps? Obviously people are talking about Signal and Telegram, or is it just too much hassle?
I get some information sent to me on a Telegram group. I was just like, it's like saying that I'm fairly relaxed. I mean, what do I look on Facebook? You know, it's very much. I like the people who do urban exploring at crazy places. I like looking at chateaus and castles around the world. Very sad, but also because I grew up next to Dunham Hall, so I like stately homes. You know, it's just like I get some of that information. That's that. You know, I'm cool that I go running. You know, I'm just, you know, it's just, and if people are that worried about privacy, then what are they sending out? You know, so a lot of people have very, very mundane lives. I'm one of them. You know, it's just, you know, it's just I think some people just get too wound up about things that are going to make no difference in their lives. You know, is my personal view. You know, rightly or wrongly, I'm not bothered one bit.
I think that's the same thing with a lot of people. We live in a post-privacy world. We do live very mundane lives, whatever we think we do. And who cares if Facebook see the data, as long as it's serving us.
Google does as well. You know, it just. You know, we're being tracked, you know, on every website, you know, that we look at, you know, and it still comes up in our Facebook feed as well. You know, it's, you know, I think we're just constantly bombarded with the messages that we want to receive. So, and personally, I quite like the messenger for seeing who's died, see if there's anyone to know.
You've got to that age, Johnny. You've got to, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. Once he gets to your late 40s, you're going, oh my God.
I don't think it's going to be around by the time I get to my late 40s. I can't see the messenger surviving for that long now.
You've got another 10 years, Alex.
Lucky you.
No, we're going to move on to looking at deaths in the messenger to what else have people been talking about? Clubhouse. Has anyone heard of Clubhouse here, the new social media app? Have you heard it mentioned?
No.
Heard it mentioned. I've got enough things going on, you know, without adding another social media stream to me where I can listen to people talk. So yeah, I think it's getting a lot of noise and a lot of attention.
It's kind of invite only. They've done some very good marketing on it by making it sort of this exclusive club, like the name. Yeah. So you have to give someone an invite. So if you are watching this broadcast, ask me for an invite. I've got 4 left to give. But literally, it is kind of that. That's why everyone's talking about it, because of this whole invite side of things. But essentially, it's what we're doing now. We're having a conversation, except we've got video on here. That's the only difference. It's like listening to talk radio and an online show. So in terms of your businesses, maybe Andrew, in the legal chats, it might be something that's worth.
So what's the basic premise then, that people are just interfacing in a sort of chat room or something? What's the?
Yeah, it's like a live podcast, live radio show. You get invited up to a stage. So if we were doing this on Clubhouse, we would be the speakers on stage, but would have a live audience listening to us, which can request to come on the stage. So if we felt that someone had a good question or something to contribute, we could literally go, oh yeah, they put their hands up, we'll invite them to the stage with us and they can start talking as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's an interesting...
I'm kind of like, I was a bit like Jonny in the sense that coping with another channel is too much. I kind of got a bit of a circuit, so I kind of checked Facebook. Twitter's kind of my thing that I've always been interested in. And by the time I've done that, and I'm on, numerous WhatsApp groups, even on Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, then I'm on, and I'm finding myself now missing messages that people are sending me that are genuinely trying to communicate with me about things that can be relatively important. And because I'm trying to sort of, monitor email, text, WhatsApp, Messenger, what's the one I'm missing? LinkedIn message, you know what I mean? There's like 5 or 6 different, and I can't have my alerts on because then it'll just be ding, ding, ding all day. So I kind of get to the, 2 days later, I'm going, oh dear, I forgot to reply to somebody on that. So that's kind of what's probably stopped me. I've not, some of the other sort of channels, they really, I'm interested because I get the kids send me stuff, the TikTok stuff, I love loads of stuff on there. It's changed the way, a couple of my kids walk around. They just constantly, the arms are just constantly moving and things. So I know I'm well aware of sort of TikTok. Instagram I'm on, but I don't really do just on these shit. I've got too many things to do. You did warn me to not swear, didn't you, Alex? And I forgot.
Fine. That's absolutely fine.
It's authentic.
It's authentic. It's real. So we're going to go on. We're going to go actually on to Hayley now. So what stood out for you on social media this week?
Well, I've actually started doing a little bit more on LinkedIn recently. I used to use it a lot when I was in the corporate world, but since I've kind of gone into my little world of, baking, I've kind of let that slip. But I've gone back into it, and I found a really interesting. I don't even know why it came into my notifications, but it did. It's an engineering firm called Cutwell Limited, and the managing director puts a post on apologising to the world for a mistake. Basically, one of his staff members had been packaging up a £4,000 delivery and mistakenly put in a half-eaten Kit Kat. And instead of this client going back to obviously to Cutwell's, they plastered it all over social media. So this obviously was what made the managing director put this post onto LinkedIn to say, really, really sorry, mistakes happen. We're all human. Unfortunately, this Kit Kat was found in this 4K order. It wasn't a food order, it was engineering goods. Now, it had, I think, LinkedIn actually took the post down because it was in breach of some policy rules. What policy rules, I don't know. But it got 2.5 million views, and I think 60,000 comments. It was just like, what? And he reposted it so people could see it. And there was lots of people saying, oh, this is disgusting, it shouldn't have been in the products, and the client was within their rights to complain. And all I was thinking through this was, who would eat half a Kit Kat? If you have a Kit Kat, you have it all, don't you? You don't leave half of it.
And it'd be even worse if it's
even with Kit Kat chunkies.
Yeah, it'd be even worse if it's a half-eaten 2-finger Kit Kat.
Yeah, but then the other bit of it, which I think is very, very clever. So I think, firstly, absolutely great that this guy has had the incentive to just, hold his hands up and say, look, we made a mistake, we're really sorry. I think the client was wrong to not go to him and, go to them and say, look, this is what's happened. They had to pay them to get the posts taken off social media, which I think is outrageous. But what they've now done is they've turned it round, and for every order that they send out, they're sending free Kit Kats. And then asking people to post what flavours they've received with their goods. And I just think, do you know what? Brilliant. Genius.
That's definitely turning around a scenario to your advantage, because I think as you three particularly, you're all sort of customer service based, you're sort of B2C, and we've all had, I have it with my clients on TripAdvisor, where you have that client that goes, or you see a TripAdvisor review and go, I've been going to this place for 10 years and they made that one mistake and it's the first review they've ever left on TripAdvisor.
Don't most of them reflect really badly on the reviewer generally? You know, most of the time, I mean, if I look at somebody on a Google review or something and there's like, you know, you look at the 1 stars, they just always look like somebody with an axe to grind, and you tend to look at them and go, oh, what are the reviews that they're given? And they've always given 5 1-star reviews, no 5 stars. So they're never for praising anybody. And it's, you know, it's this platform. It's just the kind of, I'm angry at the minute, and so therefore, you know, a lot of them are very spiteful, aren't they?
Yeah, I will break you from.
I think most people, I just filter them out. I just don't. I'm pretty much ignoring the kind of bad reviews that just look. You know, I
think you can have, you know, a former business as well. You can have 200 brilliant reviews, and you always focus on that 1 star, and it eats you. And I think you do. You just need to have a way of just being able to filter it. Like sometimes just they're wanting a reply. Well, do you know what? I'm not even going to bother writing a reply. You know, just
don't. Yeah, actually, the funny thing is when you actually ask anybody, you know, they most people have the same view. It reflects worse on the reviewer than it does on the business. Yeah. I mean, we played a little game. I was away on holiday and a few friends of us together, and we accidentally started looking at, you know, looking up somebody else's firm, and we were sort of like joking about, you know, and I can't mention the names, obviously, going, I didn't realize you know, apparently you don't do this, and apparently, you know, we got to the point where, well, you can't be the worst solicitors in Manchester because I'm the worst solicitor in Manchester according to this reviewer. And it was actually, you're kind of laughing at the people who leave the spiteful reviews, because most people, if they want something sorted, they're going to come back to you and, you know, and do it properly. That's, you know, it's almost regrettable that platform is there without filter. But I think most people are pretty sophisticated now, don't they? And they think, no, you know, these people with an axe to grind.
Yeah. There's always somebody having a, you know, wants to leave, just feels like it's in their right to leave a bad review, and for no reason. Even people that have never visited you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that post you mentioned, though, Hayley, was fantastic. I saw it as well. I was one of the people that saw it, because you couldn't miss it when a post.
I saw it.
Yeah. When a post goes viral on LinkedIn, I think everyone.
Is there any suspicion that it's, you know, because when I kind of saw it, I first looked for, what were these really nasty things that people said, and I didn't actually find. So I wasn't convinced there wasn't a straw man set up to say loads of people have said it's horrible. You know, were there lots of people commenting? Because I didn't actually see the negative side. I only saw the, you know, we've turned it to our advantage side.
Yeah, quite true.
Yeah, it was a great post, and as I said, everyone saw it. So what else have you seen, Hayley?
The other one is the great Yorkshire pudding debate, which was on Twitter. Obviously, I follow a lot of foodies on Twitter, and there's one particular feed where they've been making Yorkshire puddings for forever, but suddenly, all of a sudden, their Yorkshire puddings keep coming out flat, which, you know, for a Yorkshire pudding is just, well, unthinkable. So he was asking for people's recipes and remedies for preventing your Yorkshire puddings coming out like pancakes. And obviously I have an even bigger challenge, because I have to make gluten-free Yorkshire puddings. But I have a fail-safe recipe, which actually my grandma used to use, and is basically naturally gluten-free, because instead of using regular flour, she always used corn flour. And corn flour is a flour that's traditionally been used right back into the Victorian ages, and usually what used to be made from a Victoria sponge was made with corn flour because it's a lighter flour.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's basically in order to prevent your Yorkshire puddings from going flat, my recipe is 200 grams of corn flour, 6 eggs, 100 grams of milk. It can be, whole milk, or it can be an alternative milk, and you've just got to make sure that you keep get your oil really, really hot. And keep the oven door closed for 15 to 20 minutes, and they'll rise perfectly.
Oh, fantastic! So you'll have to post that recipe on the comment section when this video goes live. So we're going to jump over to Andrew now, actually, and we're going to find out what stood out for you on social media this week.
I was on Twitter. I'll just try and find it now. So I think it was like Friday night or something like that. So we've got a WhatsApp group for different departments in work, and there was a tweet that somebody had put out, which sort of really blew up. And basically, it was a guy sort of been fairly critical, I guess, of the conveyancing process. And I think he said, I'll just find it. He said, it was quite funny in a sense. He put, I've never bought a house before, but the process mainly seems to consist of me phoning people and asking them to please just do the jobs I'm paying them an eye-watering amount of money to do. So this ended up with now it's like 42,000. It ended up with, quite a debate. And it was like loads of estate agents and loads of solicitors diving in. And then there was loads of people who having bad experiences at the moment, all kind of leaping in saying, oh, that I share that experience. And lots of professionals getting very, very kind of upset and feeling very, very sort of undervalued at the moment, because we are in this, we've got this conveyancing bubble going on at the moment. There have never been more transactions going on than there are now. We've got this stamp duty deadline, which is pushing everybody. And I think for me, it really got to an essential truth of what's going on at the moment, which is we've got this background of sort of COVID. We've got the let's all be nice to each other and let's all be, mental, all of this kind of thing. But actually, what I've noticed in January is lots and lots of jumping up and down and people wanting what they want is coming back. So they're not, people are sort of saying, well, I get it. But there's an awful lot of people now are very quick to say, don't use COVID as an excuse, or don't use it as an excuse. And this was a tweet that brought all of that out into the open and the discussion. What was really good about it, though, was that the actual guy who, was obviously an honestly held belief of his, at the start, he actually then came back and said, you know what? I've actually listened to people, and he put up another tweet saying, I'm sorry if I didn't mean to offend any estate agents or solicitors, because I get that everybody's working really, really hard. So it was quite nice that he wrapped it up later by saying, look, I've kind of, I get it and I listened to it. But I thought it was quite interesting that it showed these kind of fault lines and how, how perhaps we're not quite as tolerant of each other as we're saying we are, and that, how people are getting very, very frayed. Lockdown 3 is fraying people's nerves. And there's an awful lot of people on a hair trigger, and they're very, very quick to be critical and point the finger at one thing and another. So, so it was like, I never thought that conveyancing was going to get, 42,000 likes on a, as a topic. And it's,
I think we have we've got a March deadline, haven't we? So it's the so it must be the amount of transactions that you're seeing, Andrew, or most law firms.
I speak to loads of Rob Macklin, who's going to be doing the the run with us, and Pete speaks to Pete Wilterson, and the guys at Thornley Groves and all the local agents. We've got this. Everyone said we've never ever been busier. There's the capacity in the system just doesn't exist. So the land registry are behind, the search people are behind, and everybody just, everybody wants to blame somebody. And as soon as you start saying to somebody, well, actually, there's this problem, etc. Oh, don't be blaming everybody else because it must be. It's like, well, okay, So there's a lot of, in our office at the moment, sort of, lots of people reading Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The reason they have 7 out, we've got to be calm, and we've got to just be very, very polite, and we've got to say everything nicely to people because they're extremely stressed, you know. And we've got to gently explain that, you know what, we're pretty stressed for the whole thing as well. It's a bit of an invitation for everybody to be a little bit tolerant.
I think everyone needs some Wim Hof breathing. Just and then have 10 minutes and then Wim Hof breathing, and then everyone will feel a bit more chilled afterwards and get a bit more focused.
I think there was that thing at the start of the pandemic, lockdown 1, where everyone said, "Oh, isn't the world going to be really nice and everyone's going to be really tolerant of each other?" And it's kind of not gone like that. You only have to look at the horrible comments on Facebook groups, which are like literally visiting hell sometimes. Literally everyone is attacking everyone. So it's kind of like walkers are attacking runners, people are attacking coffee shops just for opening, and it's just this whole ball of hell.
Absolutely.
So the other thing you saw was a bit nicer. So tell us about.
Well, actually, the other thing I guess it's on the same theme. Maybe it's about 3 weeks ago now. I could kind of get this sense that people were feeling very tense. So when I put some vinyls up in the window, so I came on a Saturday and I put up this, hang in there, Alty, this too shall pass. And we've put a couple of candles in the window, and it's just there so that, you know, we're right, you know, you can see the multi-stories behind me there next to Marks and Spencer's. People are walking past. It's just a kind of, you know what, we are going to get through this. So I tweeted that, and it got an awful lot of positive retweets and likes and stuff. And then I was walking the dogs on Saturday morning, and I was up by the Stamford Arms, and a lady who runs a business around the corner, a recruitment business, said, "Oh, hi. Have you seen my window?" So I was like, no. She goes, "Right, I've put exactly the same message. Hang in there, Alty, this too shall pass." And she said, "I walked past your window and I saw it, and it really gave me a boost, and it really made me feel good. So I thought, I'm going to put the same thing in my window." So then, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I took a picture of her window and our window and put them both together, and I just retweeted it. And once again, it's had an awful lot of interaction. So I guess it was just really, I was really pleased that there was a message that, you know, was just put there on a window that other people have picked up and has made somebody feel better. And, you know, I guess it's a little bit of, you know, preaching the message of, you know, let's all be kind to each other, and, you know, it will pass.
Yeah. Let's just keep on. We're almost there. It feels.
Yeah, we're
there. So close.
Yeah, my dad got his vaccine today. My mum had hers a couple of weeks ago now. So there's that sense that we're slowly getting back to normality.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, guys, it's been a great time. I'm conscious of the time, so we're going to wrap up now. But thanks, all of you, for joining us. There's a few more conversational points which we can continue in the chat and the comment section after this. But other things that happened this week that I spotted. I'm sure all of you are old enough to remember one of the early social networks, Bebo. Bebo is coming back. And that was sort of around the same time as MySpace. Hayley will know this from the music days. But definitely, Bebo is coming back. Whether it's going to be a success or not, we do not know. But that's one thing that I noticed this week. And the other thing that I noticed on another music tip, which was really good, and again, discuss this in the comments, it was a tweet from the journalist Simon Price, who used to work for Melody Maker, which was my favourite music mag back in the day. And he tweeted, "Here's what just struck me about Oasis. They have no fast songs. They just lumber about fat arsed and graceless at 20 miles per hour because it's a residential area. Music for people who can't dance, won't dance. They're rock, but they don't rock. What's the effing point in that?" And it just started trending. And I absolutely love Oasis, but then I started to listen to them again and thought, they do kind of plod along a bit. There are no fast songs. Everything's just like Noel going like pretty slow like this. So leave us a comment, guys, if you're watching this.
Listen, they're on my desk there, actually. that was City played Cheltenham, and obviously there's no fans allowed. So they produced a programme in for Fair Share for the food poverty charity. So they asked everybody to buy a programme, and I believe, you know, there was a photographer. what's his name? Kevin Cummins, I think
Kevin
it was,
Cummins.
allowed his image to be used. So funnily enough, Noel and Liam are on my desk at the moment.
Yeah,
But
I think Kevin got involved in the argument as well. I think that's how it started inflaming about
really?
the 11 o'clock argument between Simon Price and Kevin Cummins. I think that's how it all went viral.
Oh, right.
But no, so let us know in the comments, what's the fastest Oasis song that you like? And are you an Oasis fan? So that's wrapping up, guys, for the social conversation. Thanks again, Jonny. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks again, Hayley.
You're very welcome.
And thanks again, Andrew.
Thanks, Alex.
So if you've spotted anything on social, leave it in the comment section, and we're going to discuss it next week with a whole new set of different guests that we're going to be discussing all things Altrincham, all things social media, all things that we've talked about when we've been on social. So thank you again. I'm Alex McCann. It's Altrincham HQ. This is the social conversation, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you, Jonny. Bye-bye.